Hello and welcome. Today we have a couple of juicy stories, including one about Original Poster's wicked mother who sold Original Poster's dog and other to force her to get a spouse. Sit back, relax and enjoy. Am I the idiot for losing it on my husband for lying about an emergency to get me to leave my brother's wedding early? My husband has been sick for a few days. He got sick around the time of my brother's wedding. I took care of him 24 hours every day. He's on meds and can move and go to the bathroom and eat on his own. I told him I was going to my brother's wedding and he threw a fit saying I couldn't leave him alone while he was sick. I told him he was not that sick, and that he was getting treatment for something little. I suggested he call his sister to come to stay with him. He said no and told me to miss it. I got upset and bluntly said no and that he could survive for a few hours while I attend the wedding. He sulked, and as I was leaving, he said he hoped I won't ever come back. It hurt my feelings, but I know he was just mad and didn't mean it. At the wedding, I got a text from him saying he lost balance and fell off the stairs and hurt his back. He said he was in a lot of pain, he threw up and couldn't move, and insisted I get home as soon as possible. I freaked out and started calling his phone, but he didn't answer. I thought he must have passed out, and I freaked out even more. I got in my car and drove back to our house immediately. When I got home, I rushed towards the stairs while calling out his name, but he wasn't there. I started to really freak out. I rushed into the bedroom and found him in bed drinking juice, and as soon as he saw me he put the phone down. I instantly knew he lied, so I lost it on him and started yelling, saying he freaked me out and caused me to miss my brother's wedding for nothing, absolutely nothing. He said that he already told me I couldn't leave him alone in the house and that this very scenario could have happened if I stayed there any longer. I yelled at him, calling him horrible, which made him cry. He started crying and throwing his juice all over the place. I had to step out and call his sister thinking she'd come help, but she came and started cussing me out, saying I had a lot of nerve expecting her to back me up after I so carelessly left her brother alone at the house in that state just to attend a party. We got into an argument and I went to stay with my family. My brother understood when I explained the situation to him. My husband and I haven't seen each other since then, but his sister kept saying I had no right to scream at her brother and cause him a panic attack, and said that he at least was clear with me from the start, but I chose to be dismissive. Was what I did dismissive? I'm 26 years old. He's 23 years old. The comments. Not the idiot, he lied, he's manipulative and he's borderline abusive. The only reason to go back to that house should be to collect your belongings. Sis, get out of this relationship. This is only the tip of the iceberg of what he is going to pull when you do not do as he says when he says it. He is a controlling person, highly manipulative, and actively seeking to destroy your relationship with your family. Let's be clear, this was about control. It is so sick, that he would do this. In a functional family, a sibling's wedding is sacrosanct. You move heaven and earth to be there to support your sibling, and to celebrate the start of their new life with their spouse. Your husband hurt your brother, pulling you away from what should have been about him and his wife. He created a scene because I can guarantee that the conversation became about your husband's injury and the emergency. He robbed you of a special time with your family. This would destroy any trust I had in my spouse permanently. If a person is so highly manipulative that they could pull this crap, I'd be gone. Please seriously consider where your future with him is going. A person like your husband will do this again. It could be calling your boss at work to get you fired because you can't go on a work trip with him. It could be destroying friendships with close friends because he doesn't like them. It will be isolating you from your family. After all, he doesn't want to inconvenience himself because he has already done it, he just did it. Second story. Am I the idiot for essentially telling my husband that the apparent, meaningful name he was insisting on for our unborn son is utterly unfit? My 27F husband, 29 male, Mark, and I are expecting our first child, whom we have been planning on naming Zachary for the short duration of our IUI journey. The name is rather meaningful to Mark, as it was his deceased grandfather's middle name. I, on the other hand, just happen to rather enjoy the sound of it. I also happen to favor how common it is, as I can acknowledge because my brother-in-law's son, 12 male, Caleb's, classes are filled to the brim with children named Greenlee and Blade, according to his wife. Anyhow, Mark and I were recently discussing our future son's name, as we felt the need to double-check everything before our son arrived, as I am 7 months along. I decided to write the name on Mark's dry erase board, just to clarify our decision. Understandably, I wrote it down as Zachary, as that / was the main spelling I was aware of. Within seconds, Mark said, no, and claimed that I had spelled it incorrectly. I decided to write it down as Zachary, then, assuming that he was referring to that spelling. In common fashion to Zachary, though, he vetoed it. In the last attempt, I scribbled Zachary onto the aforementioned board, though, shockingly, Mark informed me that I had spelt the name wrong. Finally, I asked him what spelling he was considering. He stood up, took the marker, and wrote Zachary on the board. Carefully, I asked him if he was joking, but he said no. I told him that, while his feelings surrounding our son's name were certainly valid, that I did not support his idea of naming our son Zachary. Unfortunately, he refused to listen, despite my commentary, and insisted on Zachary. Eventually, he even said that it was Zachary or nothing. I told him that because he seemed against Zachary, and I was against his suggestion, we may have to go back to the drawing board and pick a new name, as naming a child is a two-yes business. Mark told me that I was being very unfair and that Zachary was a perfectly normal name. I told him that I was sorry, but that we would have to find a new name since neither of us could agree. Needless to say, Mark was incredibly frustrated, and he decided to go to his room. I feel that I may have been the idiot in the said situation because I may have been too harsh on him, as he claimed that the name was rather meaningful to him. It would have certainly been possible to refuse the name more kindly, without having Mark storm off / having feelings hurt. So, am I the idiot? The top comments. Not the idiot. Geez, I've never thought to spell Zachary like daiquiri. Looks like a special menu frozen mixer at a beach bar. It's just stupid. Kids don't like growing up having to explain or spell their weird names to people. His teachers will definitely think you're dumb and alcoholic. Just spell it right. Second comment. My aunt wanted to name her daughter Chahnaiyah, pronounced Shania. I was a teen at the time and had a smart mouth, told them they were idiots and to just spell it the way it should be. When my cousin was grown and found out, she was mortified and gave me a hug saying thank you for not letting them. Not the idiot. Update. For anyone wondering, Mark's grandfather's name was spelled as Zachary, which contributes to part of my confusion surrounding Zachary. During our argument surrounding his odd spelling preference, he mentioned that he simply doesn't like the spelling of his grandfather's middle name and that it was too common. Edit. Thank you dearly for all the spelling alternatives of Zachary. Although, I happen to singularly be drawn to the normal spelling, which is part of why I suggested to my husband that we choose a different name for our son. I honestly just don't really like plenty of spellings outside of Zachary, as I'm profoundly afraid that our son will be left correcting people for the rest of his life. Part of my worry is because my mother, Saoirse, was always informing people that her name was pronounced Saoirse, and not Saoirse. And that's actually a fairly common name in Ireland. Edit 2. For anyone wondering, we live in the USA. Third story. Am I the idiot for my husband's aunt's tree being cut down? My husband rented his aunt's home before we got married. He signed a month-to-month lease when he moved in. I moved in with him after our marriage because the rent was super cheap. My parents recently came to me asking if they could park their RV at our home. I didn't see a problem with this. Our yards are really big and there is space. Because of city ordinance, the RV has to be parked in the backyard. There was no RV gate in the fence. My husband went to his aunt and asked if we could install an RV gate. His aunt said no. My husband relayed the message to me and my parents seemed upset when I told them. 2 days ago, I came home from work and saw that my dad had a construction crew at our home and had removed part of the fence for the gate. There was an apple tree in the way. They couldn't fit the RV in the yard. My husband angrily told my dad not to continue and that they needed to repair the fence. At this point, I felt like it was pointless. The fence guys already built the columns for the gate. It would cost a lot more money to rebuild the fence. I told my dad to finish the job but make sure it was left super clean. That looked nice. I planned on talking to the aunt later and explaining what happened. What I didn't know was my dad told the guys to remove the tree. My husband's aunt came by and saw the tree cut down and started to cry. She has refused to talk to my dad or me. When my husband came home, he found a 30-day notice on our door, terminating our lease. He tried to call his aunt and she didn't answer the phone. He then called my mother-in-law and she went to talk to our aunt. Later I got several messages calling me an A for cutting down the aunt's late husband's tree. I had no idea he planted the tree. Now my husband and his whole family are really angry at me. I never told them to remove the tree. I feel like I am being thrown under the bus here. Am I the A here? The top comments. You are the idiot for letting it continue when your husband said no. The aunt said no to the gate and no is a complete sentence. Your parents removed a tree from a yard they do not own. How stupid and selfish of them. Everyone is the idiot besides your husband, his aunt, and his family. The aunt can hire a lawyer and sue your parents and the company who did it without her permission. And honestly, I hope she does. Second comment. You and your dad, you are the idiot. You rent someone's house and ask to make permanent alterations and are refused. Then you go ahead anyway and cut down their tree to make it more convenient? I would throw you out too. Fourth story. Am I the idiot because I made my parents homeless for getting rid of my doji, F27? Lived with my parents until last week. I have a dog that I love. She has been my best friend since I graduated from university. I am not very social, and I prefer her company to most people I know. I have had boyfriends and even a short relationship that ended amicably. I am just not really interested in much beyond my work and my dog. My parents think that this is a shortcoming, but I do not. My brother also lives with us. He is in high school and he doesn't pay rent. I pay about 50% of everything in the house, including groceries. It is about the same as the rent would cost. And I get the basement suite. It isn't a legal suite in the sense that it could be rented, but it is fine for a family member. It is because of building codes and stuff. It would cost a bunch of money to make it suitable for a renter. So my mom decided that the reason I am not actively looking for a husband is because my dog takes too much of my attention. My pup has some health problems but nothing I can't afford. And nothing that affects her quality of life. So my mom gave her away. While I was at work. I came home and she was gone, along with all her stuff. Her toys, her leash, everything. I lost it on my mom. I told her if she didn't tell me where my dog was I was calling the cops and saying that they had stolen my dog and have her charged. I went to the place where my dog was and got my dog back. I then went back to my parents' house and packed all the stuff that was important to me and went to a friend's house. My dad has been calling and texting me asking about money for October. I told him he should have thought about that when he allowed a crazy person to steal from me. Since my dad lost his job because of the current world disease, they cannot afford all the household bills without my help. My dad says that they will be out of money in 3 months without me. I don't trust them anymore. My family thinks I am an idiot for caring more about my dog than I do about them. To answer some questions I know will come up. Yes, I am on the spectrum. I may also lean towards ace even though I have enjoyed sex with men before. Am I the idiot? The top comments. Not the idiot. They can move into the basement and rent out the room upstairs. It's important for you to understand that you are not here to negotiate with them. This isn't you trying to get their approval to get out. You are already out. They are not your responsibility. Your tone should convey this clearly. You are the wronged party. You stole from me. It isn't my job to figure out the problems that you create. You can try to get a roommate or rent out the basement, But this is your mess. You two are old enough to solve your own problems. You are lucky that I haven't pressed charges. If you continue to harass me, continue to behave poorly, that will change. I have no problem with letting law enforcement decide who is right and who is a criminal. Any more missing property of mine will be met with additional charges. If you have a lawyer friend, maybe have them type up a formal sounding letter if they don't stop. Also get some friends to go with you to move your stuff out. Warn your brother of them possibly trying to guilt him for rent, steal his future income, or use credit cards in his name to pay off their financial obligations and effing up his credit score. Make sure he secures his SSN and all relevant future financial documents and accounts, as should you. Second comment. Not the idiot. Your parents were absolutely taking advantage of you. You were paying half of everything? And you were paying market rent when your basement suite wasn't even up to code? This is all so wrong for so many reasons. And that's before they dared to get rid of your dog. They deserve absolutely everything that is coming to them. Whatever you do, never give them another cent. I'm just so glad you were able to get your dog back, and that you two can move somewhere you're both comfortable and safe.